You can find him at richieallen.co.uk. Richie, welcome and thanks so much for being my guest.
It's an honor, Spiro. Thanks for having me, mate. How are you?
I'm doing well, despite all of the circumstances, with this new normal, as they call it, that just seems to get stranger and weirder by the day. How's everything going on your side of the pond?
Busy day here today. The UK Prime Minister announced earlier today that more people than ever would be encouraged to have a flu vaccine this coming winter in order to try and protect the NHS in the event of a second spike of coronavirus. So they're going to offer the jab free of charge to everybody in the country over 50. And they're going to ramp up their offering of the jab to children up to the age of 11 as well. They've basically been saying the same trite things that children are super spreaders of bugs, and even though flu is no big deal for a child, we should worry about them passing it on to their excuse me senior relatives. So it's been a pretty busy day today. A lot of talk of anti-vaxxers as well in this country. There there was a number of World Health Organization doctors on UK media today, most notably Margaret Harris, talking about the need to deal with misinformation. And Margaret Harris said, and I quote, she said, we're undergoing a pretty big effort. By we, she meant the World Health Organization. We're undertaking a pretty big effort to deal with misinformation around vaccines. And the typically useless Sky News presenter didn't try and dig down into what she meant by, we're going to take a big stand or a big step towards dealing with misinformation. So it's been a pretty busy day here today, mate. Yeah.
And of course, this is all right out of a page right out of Event 201, where they spent a considerable amount of time discussing the threat of anti-vaxxers and misinformation, and the talking about the lengths that they would go to try to prevent the spread of what they call misinformation, which of course they are the self-appointed arbiters of truth at this point, because even when you have studies in science which directly contradicts what the World Health Organization is saying and you present those, you are still labeled a conspiracy theorist, even though they're saying, look at the science, and then when you show the science and it contradicts exactly what they're saying, they don't they try to ignore that. But it's really amazing to see, and of course Event 201 being the tabletop exercise of a coronavirus outbreak, a global pandemic of a coronavirus outbreak that happened pretty much right when this actual coronavirus outbreak took place. So it's incredible to see. And they were talking about going to extreme lengths, even limited internet shutdowns, and even throwing people in jail who were spreading what they deemed to be misinformation. And that is terrifying to hear them openly talking about this.
Openly talking about it. This was a big week in the UK as well, because Parliament's Intelligence and Security Committee finally published its report into alleged Russian interference in UK politics. They looked at a couple of things, the Scottish independence referendum, and they didn't really look too hard into the Brexit vote. But there was a lot of talk in the report about the influence of Russian oligarchs in this country and how those Russian oligarchs were basically reporting to the Russian government and the Kremlin. What was most interesting about that was that, as well as dealing with the claims that Russia was trying to get involved in elections here, the report also looked at things like misinformation around vaccines and misinformation around 5G. And I've had a theory for a long time. And my theory is that a lot of the Russian bashing we are seeing now about alleged interference in politics, and now they're mentioning the vaccines and the 5G stuff, I reckon that's directly connected to a soon to be very evident culling of tens and tens of thousands of not only YouTube channels, but also Facebook groups. Particularly, they seem to be obsessed with Facebook groups. And they'll take those down, but they'll soften the blow for the watching public, not for the people whose channels will be deleted, but for the watching public, it'll be, well, it's those pesky Russians. It's those pesky Russians putting out information about vaccines that could cause real palpable harm to people who might see that stuff and who might decline a vaccine for themselves or for their children.
Richie, I have a lot of respect for you. You've been doing this for a long time.